Hang on to your seat, baby, because this one's a screamer. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Sorry. I just finished reading a funny ass comic, y'all. Man. All right, what's going on, Entertainment? So time come tell with another video. So we're gonna be doing the second part of the Wendy Williams documentary. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know what y'all think down below. Okay, so Wendy starts off this episode with Will going to visit her old neighborhood. And she goes into the neighborhood and she also goes into her home, her old home too, which of course has a family living inside of it. This fan, while being in the neighborhood, comes up, and Wendy, you guys know from the first part of this series, she's been very snippy. Now with this lady, she wasn't snippy. So I'm wondering, like, is it an internal race type of thing? Because this lady was white. I don't think Wendy's racist, but I feel like she treats, and I love Wendy Williams, but I feel like she treats like some people of color different from white people. That's just what I get from it. Because I thought that she was going to maybe act a little bit of ways towards her, but she was very nice to her. They were around the pole near her house. So I think she probably took that into account and to not snap on her. But I just thought she was going to have some snippy to say, like, no, I don't want to take a picture like that. No, like she didn't do that. She was really nice to the lady. The lady didn't even seem like a huge super fan. She just seemed like, oh, this is a celebrity. Let me take a picture real quick. Wendy does love her fans, so you got to give her that benefit of the doubt. But I thought she was going to be a little bit more snippy than she was. Well, I look like I'm going to a baby shower. Anyways, she goes into the home, and here's the thing. I hope they ask these people for permission, because the family, some of them looked like they knew what was going on, and the other half looked like they had no clue what was going on. They were like, what are you doing here? Like, they were a little bit in shock. So, Wendy, please say you ask these horses for permission before you walk up in their crib, because that would be crazy if you did it. She walks in. There's a Spanish family there over there looking at her. Some of them looked like they knew who Wendy Williams was, so some of them were very excited. Some faces were blurred out, some faces weren't. When she talked to the fan, this is how you could tell the dementia is really getting to her. She didn't even remember what street that she lived down and her home was as a kid. She thought it was another street. She was like, no, that's why they named it the Wendy Williams way, because it's down that way, not this way. She was confused already with that. So you could tell that early set dementia was already setting in around that time. So we flash to a scene of Wendy in bed relaxing, and there's money in a box in her dresser. So Will comes in and he grabs the money. Will's just bad vibes. And you know what makes it worse? It's the designer, the Dior, the Celine. It's like, wow. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't help. It doesn't help. I'm not saying it's bad, because I love me a good designer, but like, it doesn't help at all. Like, at all. Will comes in, grabs the money, and then he gives Wendy the money, and he said it's about like $15K. And Wendy grabs the money, she puts it to her bosom. She's like, ooh, I love money. She's snickering. And then he's like, why don't you put it into a bank? So apparently they don't put it into a certain bank because the Wells Fargo would freeze it. But he says he has another bank account that he set up for her. So who has access to that bank account? Just her or you too? I'm guessing you too, because you're her manager, but who knows what's going on transaction-wise with that money? That was very weird to me. So then they start questioning Kevin Jr. about the finances and why everything was froze. And they asked him, like, hey, a lot of the stuff was frozen. So they basically froze the bank account because there was a lot of transactions that were being made. I'm guessing family, workers, and Wells Fargo felt like some of them were astronomical and they didn't make sense. And they felt like she was being manipulated and coerced and being taken advantage of. So that's why they really froze it. The court documents are frozen. So we, as commentators, and as researchers, we can't even look through the documents because they're frozen. We can't see them. But they asked him about going there and taking her money without her permission. He said he only took her money out when he got permission. I don't believe him. He's young and wants to live his best life. Do I feel like he's taking the money out of malicious intent? No, that's his mama. But do I feel like he probably took it out the bank account a couple of times when it wasn't needed to get this and that? Yes. He's young. So I think a lot of that had to do with it because the withdrawal amount was probably crazy. Now, the nephew, I'm telling y'all, the nephew is king of this docuseries. Shout out to the nephew. The nephew lets us know that there was an exorbitant amount spent on his birthday party. The party cost over $100,000. His rent was over $80,000. That means he living in a high rise in Miami. Sounds about right. And he spent $30K on Uber Eats. $30K on Uber Eats is like insane. $30K on Uber Eats is crazy. And y'all wonder why they froze the account. My whole thing is, if you already know your mom's going through like hard times, you might want to start cooking little fast meals here and there and not splurging on the Uber Eats. Go for DoorDash. It's a little cheaper. Uber Eats amount is like astronomical compared to DoorDash. I know this because I ordered once in a blue moon. So now we kind of know as to why the bank started looking at everybody's side eye. And now I feel like the only right person that would have been somebody who would have been able to take over the guardianship would have been the niece, because she seems out of everybody the most responsible. Before knowing this information, I would have said her son, but the amount of money that he spent while she was still a little bit in her right state of mind shows that he's not that responsible enough to have taken over the guardianship. Now, Wendy's talking about her podcast, and they asked her why she want to do it, and she basically says that she wants the money. That's why she wants to do the podcast. But just the whole episode, she's not in her right state of mind. She's jittering around. She cries at a drop of a dime. Why would anybody around her, especially Will, think that this is the right state of mind to put her on camera? Like right now. I just don't get how that makes sense and how you could kind of connect those dots. But I think Will's intentions was to use Wendy as a little bit of a cash cow, but I feel like he had a little bit of genuine intention just to be a friend to her. But you can't be a friend to her and a business manager to her. You got to pick one. You can't mix the two. Because the moment you mix the two, that's when people start being messy and start doing dumb stuff and start partaking in stuff that doesn't go with the business. So I think that's what is the problem with this whole situation between Will and Wendy. He's a little bit of an enabler. Because she shouldn't be thinking about no talk show or podcast right now because she's not in her right state of mind. All right. Now, they interviewed the niece, and she says she Googles Wendy every day. And then Wendy and Will go sit and they talk to the publicist. That poor publicist. They talk about the podcast, and what they were planning on doing is pre-filming episodes and doing like a pilot season for the podcast. What platform this was going to end up on, who knows? But they were going to do that. But they wanted to pitch it to certain sponsors and networks and platforms and then film. But the publicist said that they should film and then pitch it to the podcast and platforms. I think the publicist had the right idea, because if they sign to a platform and that platform may have not met their standards with the stuff that they're going to cover, they might have not gotten the most amount of ratings on that platform because the platform wouldn't have pushed it out or give it the correct promotion. So the publicist kind of knows what she's doing. Now, Will, you guys, they asked him, they're like, do you think she's in the right state of mind to do, the podcast? Do you think she's in the right state of mind? So the talk show, he's like, yeah, she does it in her sleep. This is where you look questionable. She not doing it in her sleep. She needs to get sleep from what we see. The fact he's so gung-ho to push her in doing this, that's so questionable to me. And everybody should side-eye him. And later on in the docuseries, it looks like he's not going to be no longer. Now we're on episode 2. Okay? Now, the Publicist, you guys, Wendy's... they're doing the Zoom, right? And they're talking to the Publicist. They end the meeting. And Wendy's like, bye. And we get no Publicist. Not even a bye. She just hangs up the damn laptop. I was like, shout out to the Publicist. I know she's gotten some criticism, but I think at that point in time, the Publicist knew that Wendy was not mentally well. So she just took it. I could tell none of the stuff that she was saying was offending her. Because she's like, oh, this lady, she's not coherent right now. She's just saying whatever's coming out of her mouth. I don't care about what she says. Is it right? No. Is the Publicist, I think, handling it right? I think so. So they went out to a dinner, and Will and the Publicist are there, and Wendy starts getting emotional because she says she feels alone. She says she doesn't have any friends, and that nobody in the city and stuff hangs out or meets with her. All her family is in Miami. I feel like the proper thing that they should have done is move Wendy to Miami. I think if she would have been close to her family, she would have been close to her son, and if something were to happen and it was an emergency, she would be easily reached instead of catching a flight all the way to the East Coast. I think that would have been the best thing for Wendy. Now she starts crying, and then they start asking her about alcohol, and they start asking Will about alcohol. Will says every time he gets over to her house, he finds a bottle of alcohol, he pours it out. At this point in time, I guess Wendy was starting to drink heavy. Of course, with you having a small form of dementia, that doesn't help. I feel like that makes it even worse. So he pours it out every time she has a bottle near her. We even see him during that point in time, like getting a bottle and questioning her about the drinking, and she kind of denies it, rubs it off, and catches an attitude with him. So then we get to the Publicist and Wendy basically planning out this business trip. We get the infamous lipo scene. Okay, it's funny how social media cut out the compliment after the lipo comment, because she was like, I just want you to get lipo, but your hair is amazing, your skin is amazing. They cut all that out. They just left the lipo part out. The thing with the weight situation, Wendy has always talked about having weight issues as a child, and she even says that her mom, when she was younger, I remember her saying this on the show a bunch of times. I remember her saying MTV, remember that show they used to do on MTV when MTV was good? They used to do that show on MTV called When I Was 16, I think it was called, and they would show pictures when they were 16 and give stories about when they were 16. She talked about it on that show too, about how her mom used to pick at her about her weight, and her mom would kind of bully her about it, about her weight. Wendy said this on my word. She said her mom used to bully her about her weight. So I think subconsciously that's coming out of her mouth, and that's already embedded in her brain. So any girl that she sees deemed not fit, she kind of pokes at them about their weight. And it's a little bit of the dementia, because with the little bit of the dementia, them internal feelings start to come out. Okay? She even Wendy gets up. Now, this I agree with Wendy on. I'm sorry. You see Wendy get up, and she just sitting there. Girl, move out the way. What Beyonce said, move out the way. When the queen come through with another party, move out the way. You should have moved out the way. You just sitting there. Wendy's like, get up. I'm sorry, that was funny. There's some part I'm telling you, like, you can't help but laugh. That was funny, because that was kind of dumb of her. Like, somebody trying to pass by you just sitting there. Like, girl, get up. If you're not going to sit there, at least move out the way so she can walk. So that scene kind of ends, and then we start getting more interviews with the Publicist. So the Publicist doesn't take any offense because she says she has thick skin. She's even yelling at her when she's putting clothes in the closet, calls her a dumbass. She tells her to go downstairs, order some food so you can make yourself fatter. She probably told her to use Uber Eats. Okay? Now, towards the end of the episode, Sean and Wendy go and order a vape. Now, this is where Wendy goes off the wall, and I think she was out of line. She cussed out Sean for stuff she couldn't remember. This is where dementia gets really hard because they start to blame the people around them and they start to lash out at the people around them for stuff that they cannot remember. So with her not remembering the right amount, the right kind of vape that she usually gets, she ends up cussing out Sean about it. Even the driver, she's like, excuse me, you're just a driver. Like stuff like that. That's that low set dementia just is hitting. The driver even says that this is how Wendy used to be. Anytime that years ago that they would be together, it seems slowly but surely she started to forget things on and on and on. And the episode sort of ends off there, okay? So the third part, stay tuned for that. Like I said, I'm doing one recap of episode because it's 4 parts for now. Let me know what y'all thought about the second part. Do y'all think Sean handled it correctly? And what do you guys think of Will pushing on this podcast on Wendy? Okay, leave your comments down below, and we're out, babies.
No personal thing.